Going on, everyone? John Matrix here. So today we are going to check out another video by Arbiter Ian. We're going to check out the Emperor's Children Legion, because Fulgrim was the next requested Primarch that we look at. So we're going to check out his Legion first, and then we're going to check out a video on the Primarch Fulgrim by Baltimore, as requested by one of my YouTube members. As you can see here with the chat being up there on screen, I am doing this reaction live for my YouTube members. So if you have any interest in coming in here and joining in some of these live reactions and joining in a lot of discussions that we have, feel free to click the join button down below and check out what YouTube membership benefits may have any kind of interest to you. And if you'd like to join, you can feel free to do so. We also have a Discord where we have a lot of community discussions that go in. So if you want to join the Discord, there's a link down below in the info section in the description. But yeah, links as always will be down in the description for this video and Arbiter Ian's channel. And let's just get on in it. Volume is good. Monitor's up.
The Emperor's Children in Warhammer 40K are one of the most well-known Chaos Space Marine legions, and their story stretches back to the very earliest appearance of Chaos in the 40K setting, a legion of noise marines and hedonists who worshipped Slanesh, the god of excess. But their origin story couldn't have been more different, starting out as the most loyal of legions, paragons of martial honor, and ambassadors of the Imperium.
So I didn't know that. I mean, I don't know much about Fulgrim or his Legion. I just know that Fulgrim's thing was like perfection in all things. So that all means like perfection in battle, perfection in like the way you look and how you present yourself and things like that. So obviously it seems, you know, proper that he would end up falling to Slanesh. But I didn't know that about his Legion, that, you know, that's what they were about. That's interesting.
Paragons of martial honor and ambassadors of the Imperium. The story of the Horus Heresy, amongst other things, is the story of their fall.
So I mean, it kind of does make sense that they would be the ambassadors, though, right? Being that they would have kind of an air or a look about them, like you wouldn't want the Night Lords to be the ambassadors for the Imperium, right? That'd be terrible. So yeah, interesting. Okay.
Horus Heresy.
Man around the time of the OG Sun Marines, but I miss how the 80s used to be. I feel you. The 80s, man, growing up in the 80s and 90s, it was a much simpler time than things are now. I'll say that. Yes, I am that old. Call me a boomer if you want. I don't care.
Honor and ambassadors of the Imperium. The story of the Horus Heresy, amongst other things, is the story of their fall.
Black screen. What is happening?
Hi, welcome to Heresy 101. In this little series, I'm going to go through the background for each of the Space Marine legions of the Horus Heresy. I'll take a look at where they are at the start of the Heresy and how they got there, what happens to them during the Heresy, and in this case, how it turned a once loyal legion into the debased group of Chaos warbands we know from 40k. Anyway, before I start, this video contains spoilers for the Horus Heresy Black Books and also the Black Library novels.
No!
Obviously. The treachery of the Horus Heresy took place in the closing years of the Emperor's Great Crusade, as the forces of the Imperium pushed outwards from Terra in an attempt to unify the galaxy, and this constant push outwards served as a cover for Horus and the rest of the traitor legions to plot their rebellion. But by the time the Civil War finally broke out, the slow fall of the Emperor's Children had already begun. Their Primarch, once a vision of noble perfection, possessed by a demon, and their bodies being twisted by their apothecaries into more and more distorted caricatures of what they once were, which is ironic, as at the start of the Great Crusade...
I was going to say that's another one of those 40k ironies where they were about perfection and, you know, looking perfect and all that kind of stuff, and then having all these, you know, weird mutations kind of disfigure and deform them. Very ironic.
caricatures of what they once were, which is ironic, as at the start of the Great Crusade, that sort of physical
Posted a picture in the chat of the OG Marines, in case Ian doesn't show them. Interesting. That's definitely very 80s. That's definitely very 80s. That's funny.
corruption was exactly what they were trying to avoid. The history of the Third Legion, like all the legions, starts in the latter years of the Unification Wars as the Emperor slowly conquered Old Earth. While the First Legion,
That is
later
very
the Dark
wild.
Angels, were proving the might of the new Astartes pattern in full-scale conflicts across the planet, the rest of the legions were being slowly brought up to fighting strength, and early examinations of the Third Legion notes their noble bearing, tendency towards martial perfection, and disciplined, ordered minds, the only genetic flaws being a tendency towards albinism and occasionally violet irises. To the new recruits of the Third Legion, this was hardly a surprise. They had been raised from the noble families of old Europa, sending their firstborn sons as penance for their resistance to the Imperium. In fact, they were noted to be refined and glorious right from the start, clad in armor covered in golden thunderbolts and rays of sunlight, and their initial deployments, when there were only a few of them, were often as an officer corps for mortal troops, being split up to provide morale-boosting command elements to the rest of the Emperor's armies. It was this heritage, as well as their status as obvious favourites amongst the legions, that led to them becoming known as the Emperor's Children. And as the
they're more like Xenobites and dubstep weapons instead of guitars. I can see that. I can see that.
amongst the legions that led to them becoming known as the Emperor's Children. And as the early Crusade started to move away from Terra, that reputation was cemented. It was their dogged defense of the Emperor, alongside the Custodes on Proxima, that led to them being honored with the right to wear this, the Palatine Aquila, that's the one with the pointy up wings, on their armor. For many, they were the voice of the Emperor, accompanying diplomatic missions as bodyguards and emissaries and carrying the imperial standard. But before the Crusade really got underway, disaster struck. During the genesis of the Astartes project, the Primarchs, the generals and genetic templates of the legions, had been scattered across the galaxy. Without the Primarchs around, the gene seed used to create each Space Marine was less stable and more prone to failure. Near the end of the unification of Terra, it was discovered that the Third Legion's gene seed reserves had become infected by a viral blight that, despite the best efforts of the Emperor's scientists, infected and destroyed the entire batch. The only
Interesting. I never knew that. I never knew anything like that happened. I wonder how that could have happened. That was sabotage or some kind of mere accident or, you know, chaos involvement, but that's interesting.
Best efforts of the Emperor's scientists infected and destroyed the entire batch. The only gene seed left was that growing in the augmented bodies of the Third Legion warriors, and that wasn't enough to keep pace with the growth the Crusade required. As the rest of the legions built their strength and led expeditionary forces out into the dark, the Emperor's Children dwindled. They were saved by a
popular theory is Zinch was doing shenanigans, so I mean, that would make sense, but wouldn't, you know, it's disease, so like, you know, Nurgle as well, you know what I mean? But I guess, you know, Chaos Gods can do whatever. So he could have snuck in, stole a little virus or something. But that is interesting, though.
Forces out into the dark, the Emperor's Children dwindled. They were saved by a stroke of luck. Early in the Crusade, their Primarch, Fulgrim, was discovered on the grey and rocky industrial world of Chemos. Chemos was slowly sinking into obscurity, but Fulgrim had risen to rule the world as a figure of hope, introducing a renaissance of technological and artistic advances and intellectual refinement. It was this hope he brought to the Third Legion when their 200 remaining legionnaires first met him. Kneeling, he promised them a new start, telling them of their destiny and to shake off the misfortunes of the past. The Third Legion were officially renamed the Emperor's Children and adopted the Imperial Purple and Palatine Aquila as their uniform.
I don't know. I don't really like that look, to be honest. So far, out of all the Space Marines, I like the I guess what is it, the 20th Legion? The Alferus and Megon's Legion. They're like scaled looking armor. That's my favorite so far. But I don't know. I don't really care for this like purple look. I don't know. It just looks weird to me. It just doesn't seem like it fits for like a Space Marine aesthetic. You know, when you think of like the Night Lords, you can like look at their armor and like, yeah, that fits Night Lords. You look at the Dark Angels, you know, they fit. I don't know. This just doesn't. It just seems kind of weird to me. But whatever.
As children, and adopted the Imperial purple and
Sure as hell didn't look like that image you saw earlier of them from the 80s, but
Palatine Aquila as their uniform. In practical terms, the rediscovery of Fulgrim allowed for faster reproduction of gene seed, and the Legion slowly began to grow again. Until it reached fighting strength, though, Fulgrim and the Third were seconded to the Lunar Wolves under the command of Horus, and the two became good friends. Each of their
Emperor's children were the only Legion allowed to bear the Palatine Aquila armor. The Emperor was that impressed with the speech Fulgrim gave to his Legion that they were when they were reunited. I think I do remember reading that at one point in time. But again, that would also be a good reason as to why he would make them their emissaries, you know, their ambassadors, for his ability to talk and charisma.
Seconded to the Lunar Wolves under the command of Horus, and the two became good friends, each of their legions complementing the other. With this change in fortunes, and as they started to accrue battle honors, the Emperor's children, knowing they had some catching up to do, rebuilt their pride. A passionate intensity filled them. They studied the tactics of the other legions, attempting to excel at the same skills, channeled all their energies into training in specific arts of war until that training consumed them. Eventually, they grew large enough to lead their own expeditions, but they were never the most numerous of legions. They couldn't afford to waste numbers in wars of attrition, so instead they refined their tactics, continued to study, and came to rely on speed, mobile assault, and perfectly planned and timed attacks. But over time, this all came at a price, and pride and resentment came to pollute their nobility. The only measure of achievement is to measure oneself against others. When another legion was honored, it was said that they took it both as a spur to do better and a wound to the Emperor's children's pride.
Interesting.
When they failed to reach the quality.
The modern 40k Emperor's children still scream for the Emperor when they charge in battle just because they're such trolls. I can see that. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if other Chaos Space Marines wouldn't do that too as a troll, you know, as a spite. Get under the skin of some of the other Astartes they're fighting against, you know. That would definitely be an insult.
Quality of another to do better and a wound to the Emperor's children's pride. When they failed to reach the quality of another, it created jealousy. When they did excel, it bred contempt for those they'd risen above. And no matter how high they rose, no matter how much they achieved, it was never enough. The achievements of the past were dead to them. Their hunger
at the height of their fall
was without limit and could never be sated. The atrocities that had come later demonstrate this assessment, but the signs were there long before they fell. And fall they did. By the end of the Crusade, the Emperor's children had rebuilt their forces and were deployed at Lairan in a war of extermination against the Xenos Lair. However, their pursuit of perfection had already led portions of the Legion down a dark path, the diligence of their apothecaries occasionally turning to a desire to improve upon the Emperor's template.
Plastic surgery, you know. They're the ones, you know, doing Botox, you know, out there in space while you know, you got, you know, Lionel Johnson and his guys out there exterminating Xenos, and Corvus, you know, they're the Night Lords going out there and, you know, seeking justice. These guys are over here injecting Botox themselves, you know, looking in the mirror, you know, combing their hair, all that kind of stuff.
Throughout the early stages of Horus's war against the War Singers of Istvan. As the heresy became apparent, illicit modifications had been performed on a number of the Legion's command staff, and Fulgrim himself had become corrupted by a Lairan demon blade. The Emperor's children's fall to chaos started well before the rest of the heresy.
So he's the one that got the demon blade that corrupted him. I remember, you know, reading about that a long while ago. I forget, wasn't it Erebus who gave that to him, though? Or am I thinking incorrectly? Someone had found the demon blade beforehand, if I remember. Unless I could be getting my lore mixed up. But from what I remember, someone else had found this demon blade on some kind of Xenos planet, and eventually it got into the hands of Fulgrim from someone else. And I think it was like purposeful, but I could be wrong. They actually started different. That's a different blade. Okay. They actually started spiking Xenos DNA and the bodies to gain special abilities, eventually extremely mutating the Marines. Gotcha. Okay, so yeah, I'm just getting my lore mixed up. Okay.
So, the Emperor's Children's fall to chaos started well before the rest of the heresy. So, at the start of the heresy, the Emperor's Children were estimated at around 110,000 legionnaires. But the opening battle on Istvan III, where the initial 4 traitor legions purged their ranks of loyalists, cost the legion greatly, maybe knocking them down to around 60,000. These were ordered extremely.
No, I found the demon blade on the planet that Ian is talking about in the video, Laren, which was populated by Xenos that worships. Okay, I gotcha. So yeah, I'm just getting my lore mixed up. Okay.
Greatly, maybe knocking them down to around 60,000. These were ordered extremely precisely according to the tenets of the Principia Bellicosa, with each legionnaire aware of exactly where he stood in the hierarchy of the legion.
Fulgrim found from an alien temple. Fulgrim did also get the blade Rebus, all that you're talking about. Okay. Okay.
And while these clear lines of command were useful when executing the Third's famously precise and complex battle plans, they could also lock officers and troopers into their allotted roles, creating almost a noble class within the Legion. Each squad was expected to excel in one specific area.
Everest gave him an anathema.
The Legion contained every sort of formation commonly used by the Astartes. Some weapons and tactics were valued more highly than others. The Emperor's Children valued speed and skill above all else, and so jet bikes and land speeders were common, as were command staff versed in logistics and planning. The specializations expected of every squad led to some unique and feared units, such as the Sun Killers, las cannon-equipped heavy weapon squads, or the Palatine Blades that formed out of the Legion's tradition of honor duels. In fact, dueling was a huge deal for the Emperor's Children, as was skill with a blade in general, and the taking of blades as trophies from defeated enemies was encouraged. As the heresy ground on, this rigid perfection started to fracture. The Emperor's Children were one of the legions dug in at Istvan V, where the possessed Fulgrim killed his brother and friend, Ferrus Manus of the Iron Hands. After this, the Emperor's Children started to lose cohesion as their legionnaires gave in to their own desires. As the legion fell to Slaanesh, its warriors turned into glory seekers, or fell to indiscriminate excess as part of cults like the Cacophony, precursors to the Noise Marine.
If you're going to be part of Slaanesh, you're going to fall to excess, right? Like, of course.
Some of the more organized parts of the Legion fought running battles against the White Scars, attempting to delay their journey to Terra, but Fulgrim himself, even having conquered his possession.
That would be interesting, seeing battles between the White Scars and the Emperor's Children, because they sound like they both use similar tactics, you know, relying on speed and kind of mechanized cavalry to you know, hit and run and maybe overwhelm their opponents before they really know what's happening. So that would be interesting to see who would win between the two of those overall, when both of those legions kind of use similar tactics. Anyway.
Attempting to delay their journey to Terra, but Fulgrim himself, even having conquered his possession, quit the crusade for a while for a pilgrimage into the Eye of Terror, where he tricked his brother Perturabo of the Iron Warriors and used part of his life force to achieve apotheosis as a demon prince of Slaanesh.
That's fucked up.
By the time the Emperor's Children arrived at the Siege of Terra, they were totally changed. A horde of
hey bro, just come over here, man. I got something I want to show you. It's fine. It's fine. Well, whoop, you can take your soul. I'm a demon now. Sucks for you, dude. Later. That's pretty fucked up.
The Emperor's Children arrived at the Siege of Terra. They were totally changed. A horde of cultists and noise marines that assaulted the palace with weight of numbers.
I don't know why the like, I don't know what that's called. It's like horsetail looking thing. And even their helmets there kind of look more Eldari, I guess. That just might just be like this older picture. They look kind of more Eldarish.
Changed. A horde of cultists and noise marines that assaulted the palace with weight of numbers.
Yeah, the Emperor's Children helped chase Jagatai and the White Scars and the Web along with Mortarion and the Death Guard. Right.
heedless of casualties. But after Rogel Dawn defeated Fulgrim at the Saturnine Wall, the Emperor's children quit the siege and rampaged through the civilian population, pursuing their own desires for excess before fleeing off-world and into the Eye of Terror. And that's the Third Legion. Their initial position as paragons of Imperial might and their obsessive desire to prove themselves after the Gene Seed Blight turned them into prideful, arrogant perfectionists willing to go to any lengths to improve, and this left them wide open to corruption by Slaanesh. Their rigid lines of command and obedience to their betters made them easy to lead into that corruption, and in the end they were a pale shadow of the Old Legion, a carnival of cultists with no higher.
Your capping events and Fulgrim still part of Perturba's Soul is actually super accurate to what happened in Angel Exterminatus. I mean, that's kind of from what he was talking about. That's what it sounded like, right? It's like literally, it's like, hey man, come here. I got something I want to show you. Oh, whoops, soul, your soul, dude. I'm a demon now. Bye, later, dude. Like, I don't know. It's pretty fucked up, but well, I mean, it kind of sounds like how it went down from his description here.
And in the end they were a pale shadow of the Old Legion, a carnival of cultists with no higher motive than their own excess. And that's how we know them in 40k. The Emperor's Children are an interesting legion to play in Heresy because they changed so much within the course of it. And you can pick any point in there for.
Those are actually pretty dope looking minis. I'm not gonna lie. I like the green sword, and I don't know, the color scheme here looks way better than the color scheme of the other pictures. Like the staff right here. I don't know. Those look pretty dope. Those look pretty dope.
For your army. Mine are most definitely from the very end of that story.
I mean, I feel like if you're going to fall with Slaanesh, you're going to fall pretty hard, right? Because I feel like that's one of the biggest things with Slaanesh is going to be like selfishness and yeah, that drive of excess and all things. You're going to become a super selfish person and want things, you know, for yourself. So it doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me at all.
Story. Anyway, thanks for watching.
All right. Well, there we go. So that was the Emperor's Children, you know, a little Legion overview, the Third Legion, Origins and Lore by Arbiter Ian. Go check out his channel. Like I said before, there'll be a link to this video and to his channel down in the description. So go over there, give this video a like, give his channel a sub, check out his Patreon stuff. He's a great content creator, makes a lot of Warhammer 40k stuff. Dude went full Griffith. Never go full Griffith, man. Never go full Griffith, dude. The whole Berserk. Oh man, like I could go on a whole other tangent. Berserk is my favorite anime. Berserk's what got me into anime to begin with, and the 90s Berserk. And it's sad to me that in this day and age we have not gotten a good full like story anime of Berserk. I could go on discussing that forever, but we gotta wrap this here video up. Anyway, like I said, links down below in the info section. We're doing this reaction live, as you can see, with the chat up here on the screen. So if you want to, you can click the join button down below and check out the YouTube membership benefits and come join these discussions as I do these reactions live for my members. We also have a Discord where you can join and join a lot of discussions. We got a lot of people in there posting their minis and their armies and all kinds of 40k content, etc, etc. So if you want to join that, again, that link was down below as well. But for now, I really appreciate you guys watching this video and hanging out with me. And if you enjoyed this, consider leaving a like and a sub, as it helps me and it helps the channel grow. And I appreciate you and appreciate your time. Hope you're having yourselves a wonderful day when you're watching this, and I will see you guys on the next one.